and welcome to On the Money. My name is Cynthiya DeFazio, and I'm joined today by Ryan Wheless and Matt Stevenson of Allied Wealth. Ryan, how are you today?
I am excellent. Anytime I get to be in the studio with Blade is a great day.
Right? I know, because I love your nickname, Matt. Let's talk about that. They call you Blade. So where did that come from?
You know, and Ryan explains this better than I can, but
Okay.
I want to hear it from you, though.
apparently it's because I dress so sharp in the office.
Well, I can see that. You always look nice every time I see you.
Well, thank you.
Do you remember what was the guy, the show, Horatio Caine? What was that show?
CSI
Miami.
Oh.
So he walks in the office, and he's got like this strut. We call it the Stevenson strut. And he doesn't say anything. And he reaches up in one fell swoop and takes off his shades like this, pinky's like the thumb and index finger, and puts them down. And then he looks at you and engages conversation with you. I mean, it's just, if he's so sharp, if you touch him, it'll cut your finger.
You know, I noticed
Now
that
you need a
when-
Band-Aid, though.
I know.
See? Yes, I noticed that when Blade Matt
catches on.
walked
It
into
does.
the studio today. That's exactly what you did with your glasses. It was very fluid.
He's good. But
Any
hey,
nicknames for Ryan?
oh, Lord.
Too many to count.
Okay.
Can we say those on television?
I'm not sure they're appropriate for TV.
I
So.
love it. Well, thank you both so much for always making time to come in and do the shows, because I know that you've been incredibly busy. Obviously, people have so many questions right now about how to retire, about what's going on in the economy. So I should ask you, Ryan, what types of questions are you hearing today?
We're a lot about market volatility right now because we're seeing so much an impact on the average portfolio out there is a 60-40 portfolio, which means half the money's in bonds and half the money's in stocks. And usually when stocks go down, bonds go up. And when bonds go down, stocks go up.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, because we have all this inflationary environment that we're in and the Fed's raising rates, that's causing stocks to go down, and it's also causing bonds to go down.
Wow.
So this diversification that we're taught to depend on when the markets fall the most evaporates on us when we need it the most. And people are getting really concerned. They're calling us going, I'm losing all this money. I didn't think my portfolio could do this. I had no idea I was taking this much risk, and I need some help.
Yeah, absolutely. And Matt, are you hearing a lot of the same questions? Are they more regarding taxes?
Absolutely, Cynthia, and especially right now, things like inflation, what is the Fed going to do as far as where interest rates go? It's creating a lot of uncertainty, geopolitical events overseas, all these different questions that people have when they're coming to see us right now. And really that's what we're here to address and create a solution for them, is how to develop a plan, a strategy to navigate all of the uncertainty in the market around us.
Well, Ryan, what you and Matt have discovered basically through the years is that there are 3 types of retirees. Let's talk about what those 3 types are.
Yeah, I mean, so we've kind of narrowed it down, and we call it the underfunded retiree,
Okay.
the overfunded retiree, and what we call the constrained retiree. And people at home are going, wait a minute, which one am I?
Yeah, where do I
Right?
fit? Yeah.
You know, I mean, so it's unique because everybody needs help, and we help all of these areas, all right? But it's important to know where you fall, because if you're underfunded, you're typically going to have a smaller investment account balances. And for retirement, you will rely mostly on Social Security and income and any pensions that you may have, which is really important because a lot of us in that boat, and there's a lot of us out there in that boat. Statistically, there's more out there in that boat than there are the overfunded boat. They may consider doing some things differently.
Absolutely, and you know, no matter which bucket per se you find yourself in as a retiree, you know, when we talk to our clients, it's all about life savings, because that's a relative term.
Absolutely, it's relative.
It means the same to everybody. So it's how do we make the most of the resources that we have to navigate the next 20 to 30 years without a paycheck and not run out of money in the process.
Solving the retirement equation. And we do it for underfunded, overfunded, and constrained all the time. And that's what we do. And so going back to the underfunded person, this is somebody who really may consider, you know, if they're working till 65 minimum so they can get on to Medicare, all right? They certainly want to consider taking Social Security at age 70, and because they'll maximize their Social Security benefits as well. They want to try to make sure they're doing Roth conversions along the way, even though they're going to be a lower tax bracket. Taxes still may come into play. And lastly, what they want to do is maybe consider that retirement's a little bit different for them, and maybe they get a part-time job. You know, maybe it's not what they currently do and they've done for 20 or 30 years or whatever happens. You know, people fall into underfunded categories for all kinds of reasons. But, you know, it doesn't make you a bad person or make you stupid or anything like that. Just,
Sure.
you know, things happen along the way, right? But it doesn't mean you don't deserve help. It doesn't mean you can't live a good retirement, okay?
Sure.
And so, you know, a couple of things, again, you know, working a little bit longer, making sure you're working to a Medicare age, delaying Social Security until you're age 70, maybe a part-time job as well, and making sure your taxes are in check as well can be a great thing to do. There's some great things to do if you're an underfunded investor.
As well as going into retirement debt-free. So making sure that, you know, we've paid off those credit cards, paid off the home if possible. That way the money that we do have coming in from those defined sources can be maximized as best as possible.
Okay, all right, excellent. Matt, let me ask you, what about the overfunded? What does the overfunded retiree look like?
Yeah, so this is really the opposite end of the spectrum. So these are folks that, you know, their investment accounts are overly sufficient to supply the lifestyle. They may not even need to rely, their income. They may not even need to rely on those investments. So they have these other sources of income to provide for their lifestyle. And so
So they're wealthy.
they've done very well in life.
Yeah.
And so
Does that mean they're without problem, though?
not at all. So some of the challenges that these guys and gals may face are perhaps taxation in retirement.
Yeah.
How do we create a viable estate plan for themselves and for their heirs? Those are some of the main things that we focus on.
And there's always the mix is we've got 3 kids. 2 are real good with money, and 1's not so good with money. So what do we do, right? And I don't want to leave my kids $28 million of client with just, you know, we have the same issue going on right now, to have them blow the money or squander the money, or, you know, I don't want them to not go out and earn a buck like I did, because I came from nothing and built this money. So it also comes with some psychological challenges to work through as well.
Sure, that makes sense. Well, Ryan, what about constrained?
This is an interesting area, and constrained can have a negative connotation to it, but it's not designed to be a negative connotation. What it simply means is that when we look at your overall savings, your income need is pretty high relative to your overall savings. And you might say to yourself, well, you know, I don't know if that's me or not. Well, folks, I've seen people with $10 to $15 million of income who are constrained investors. And what do I mean by that? Well, if you've got $10 million, you need $800,000 a year to live on. That's an 8% distribution rate from your $10 million portfolio. You are a constrained investor. You're also a wealthy constrained investor, but you're constrained nonetheless. And we'll dive a little bit deeper into the constrained investor here in a few minutes, but they're absolutely reliant on their investments to produce enough income to meet their retirement lifestyle objectives. And it's also extremely important to understand that they don't have room for error. If they take too much risk and lose, you know, 30–40% of their money in a down market, they don't have the assets available to them to produce the income they need any longer, and they're looking at a lifestyle change.
Yeah, Ryan, and for these folks, it's extremely important to understand, you know, what is your tolerance for risk in retirement, but just as, if not more important, what is their capacity to take it?
I think it's more important. And Matt, how many advisors out there do we see that actually measure risk capacity?
None. And so that's exactly why it's so important to go through that education, understanding where your nest egg is currently positioned and how much risk you are actually able to take to fund your lifestyle for the next several years.
Wow. Ryan, I know that you and Matt have a very special offer to present to the viewers at home today. Let's talk about what that is before we open the phone
Well, you made it easy, because Matt's already talking about the #1 key element to the financial flight plan, folks. To get the financial flight plan is super easy. Click the QR code on your screen. Give us a call at 844-944-7555. Again, 844-944-7555. But why would you call? What do you get out of the financial flight plan? Well, the most important thing we're going to do is look at your current portfolio via portfolio x-ray, and we're going to make sure that portfolio matches not only your risk tolerance, but your risk capacity. And the next thing we're going to do is, if we can help you make that risk capacity better or help your portfolio become better, we're going to build for you an investment plan that helps you meet the needs of your risk capacity. And the next thing we're going to do is build for you a retirement income plan that allows you to spend money with confidence in retirement, even though the stock market or the bond market may be down, or even if it's an inflationary environment like we're in now. So folks, to get that is super easy. All you have to do is call 844-944-7555. Again, 844-944-7555. Click the QR code there on the screen as well. That'll take you to our landing page. You can sign up right there for the financial flight plan, or you can go to onthemoneytv.com. Again, onthemoneytv.com.
Ryan, thank you so much. Matt, thank you so much. To the viewers at home, the phone number to call is on your screen. That number is 844-944-7555. We know you have a lot of questions for Ryan and Matt about how to plan your perfect retirement. They have the answers for you. When we come back from this very short commercial break, we're going to talk a little bit more in detail about the constrained retiree. Stay tuned.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
And welcome back to On the Money. My name is Cynthiya DeFazio, and I'm joined today by Ryan Wheless and Matt Stevenson of Allied Wealth. A wonderful show we're having today, gentlemen, talking about very important topics all surrounding retirement. But today, specifically, the 3 types of retirees. So let's dive in a little bit further to the constrained retiree. Ryan, let's break that down a little bit more.
Yeah, so one of the, we've just talked about it a little bit in detail, but one of the ways to know that you're a constrained retiree at home is after factoring in any Social Security income that you have, any pension income that you have, what's the reliance on your portfolio to produce money? All right, so for instance, if your distribution rate on your portfolio above your Social Security income and any pension income is higher than 4%, you're a constrained investor. So meaning, if you have $40,000 a year from pensions and Social Security coming in, and you need $80,000, right? Excuse me, $90,000. That means on $1 million portfolio, you have to take out a 5% distribution. You're now a constrained investor.
Wow.
You need $90,000 a year in income. You've got $40,000 from Social Security and pensions, and so you have to take a 5% distribution from your $1 million portfolio. That's how you know you're constrained. And it's amazing to me that a lot of folks that we serve at Allied Wealth really do fall into that kind of that constrained area. And it brings a whole set of risk and challenges that the overfunded person doesn't have to face, but even the underfunded person doesn't have to face.
And that reminds me of one of our newer clients that came into the office the other day, Jane. So she had saved about $1 million in the nest egg, worked for about 30 years, going into retirement here within the next few months. So she'd done quite well for herself. But she needed, in addition to pension and Social Security, another $35,000 from the nest egg to maintain her lifestyle. Well, in going through building her financial flight plan, what we were able to identify with her is that it's about a 3.5% distribution rate, assuming we don't experience any market volatility, right? But the way that her portfolio was positioned right now, she was in position to see perhaps a 40% drawdown or loss on her current set of investments. And so from $1 million, that puts her at $600,000. And that is not enough to maintain the lifestyle.
So she wasn't constrained yet, but she was in a situation to where if the markets crashed, she would become constrained.
Would be.
Wow.
Right? And so that's another thing about it is you really have to go back and look at that risk capacity number to make sure if you're not constrained, meaning you need a 5% distribution from your portfolio, excuse me, more than 4% distribution or 5%, that you don't become constrained, because that's pretty scary. When you're a constrained investor, you have to get it right. You can't fail, you can't mess it up, because if you fall down 30 or 40%, you don't have the asset base available to you to produce the income you need to maintain your lifestyle. And that's just mind-boggling to me that can happen to folks But so many people don't understand the risk they're taking inside of their portfolio and what could happen. And they really need to take advantage of our offer, which is the Portfolio X-ray, which is is exactly what Matt's talking about here.
Absolutely. Another example immediately comes to mind. A lady, this was a few years ago, had built about a $2 million nest egg for herself. And it's kind of like when you bring your statement into the office, it unravels like a roll of toilet paper. It just keeps going and going, right? Yeah. And what we found is she had about 120 different products and mutual funds inside of her nest egg.
She had diversification.
Yeah, absolutely.
Diversification, not diversification.
And so on that diversification mindset, in looking at how related all of her investments were to one another, there was a significant amount of what we call correlation, or all of those funds were overlapping with one another or doing the exact same thing. So in reality, she could have used 2 or 3 of those funds as opposed to 100 to accomplish the same goal. And furthermore, she was in position to see the same sort of loss as what the market would experience.
Which is crazy. So, you know, if folks at home, if you're constrained, one of the things we really want to look at is doing an income gap analysis. So let's look at what your non-discretionary expenses are versus your discretionary expenses. Non-discretionary expenses are food, water, shelter, clothing, health care, access to transportation, shelter. Did I miss one? Oh, yeah, I think I got them there, right?
Yeah.
So those are the things that you must have in life to have any quality of life in retirement whatsoever.
Sure. So
let's look at your Social Security income and then figure out what your gap is under non-discretionary expenses. For example, if you have $30,000 a year in Social Security income coming in, and your non-discretionary expenses are $60,000 a year, that means you have a $30,000 income gap. So the question I have is, how much of that $30,000 that you have to have coming in the door, as long as you have breath in your body, to have any quality of life whatsoever in your golden years, how much of that income do you want guaranteed to you for life? Right? And so if we can put that into your plan and put a bucket of money out there that guarantees that non-discretionary expense grown for inflation over time, right? Now we're in a situation where you're becoming less constrained. All right? And we continue going to work on the rest of the portfolio to make sure you're not taking too much risk, and you're in a portfolio that seeks to maximize return and minimize downside risk.
So that's basically what it comes down to, Matt, is the need really to have a true look at someone's portfolio to see where they are so they're allocated properly and they're planning properly for retirement.
Absolutely, Cynthia. And on the topic of risk tolerance and the capacity to take risk, when people come into the office to see us, what we find most often is everyone is positioned in the risk bucket. And oftentimes there's a possibility to add some safety into the nest egg to help protect against that downside loss and help add some diversification to the nest egg to be able to withstand these market environments.
And to that end, once we put all that together, even more importantly, if you're constrained, it's super important to stay connected to your money and your financial plan. We feel that constrained investors actually need to have reviews more often. They need the weekly communication reports we give them every single week. And more importantly, if they get concerned, I want to know about it. I want you to send me an email right then and there and tell me what you're feeling. And I get these emails a lot, by the way. All right, you guys are, they hear stuff on the news and they see what's going on. We want to make sure we're positioned well. Thinking about a client just emailed me yesterday. All right, we want to make sure we're still positioned well. And what we do is we build these plans. We build them based on long-term probability of success. And so we'll in a review, we'll pull up the client's plan, pull up their current account values, the distributions they've taken from their accounts, the whole 10,000-foot view, and we'll still measure the long-term success rate. And as long as they're above 85%, we're good to go. If they start creeping down below 85% success rate, we need to start making some changes to the portfolio so we can rectify that and get them back on track.
Absolutely. Well, Brian, I know that you and Matt have a very special offer to present to the viewers at home, and also a very special video message to our families at home. Let's talk about that.
Absolutely. So, folks, we do this show to provide education to the great folks of Houston, and we do that through our financial flight plan. To get it so easy, all you have to do is call us, 844-944-7555. Again, 844-944-7555. Click the QR code on the screen. You could also check us out at onthemoneytv.com. Now, why would you do that? What do you get out of the plan? Well, the stuff that we're talking about on the show right now is what you get. We build a risk capacity model for you to determine how much money you can afford to lose in a down market in the event the markets crash and still maintain your current lifestyle. Super important to do. To get it's easy. 844-944-7555. Click the QR code on the screen, and also check us out on themoneytv.com. Coming up here in just a moment is a video about the Mighty Oaks Warriors program. It's very near and dear to my heart, and also my team at Allied Wealth, including Matt here. And we live in the greatest country in the world. And I can say that because Matt and I both are American success stories. But there are no American success stories without a great America. And America is the greatest country in the world because of the men and women who have fought and died for our country, and the men and women who continue to serve our country. We have 20 vets a day take their lives in the U.S. on U.S. soil a day because of PTSD. And that really bothers me. And I want to put an end to that. And so does the Mighty Oaks Warrior Foundation. So please check out this short message. We'll be right back.
Many of our veterans feel they need to fight their battles alone. This self-isolation has led to the staggering statistic of more than 20 veterans taking their lives every day. The mission of Mighty Oaks is to eradicate the veteran suicide epidemic and help our warriors change their legacies. We've been able to help over 4,000 veterans and first responders by equipping them with the tools they need to live the lives they were created to live. Our faith-based, peer-to-peer approach has one of the highest success rates of any program available today, offering hope and understanding to those who need it most. By aligning their lives to biblical principles, these men and women are able to lead their families, their communities, and our nation. It's your generosity that can make a difference in the lives of the men and women who have fought for our country and our freedoms. Now that they're home, don't let them fight alone. Learn more at mightyoaksprograms.org.
And welcome back to On the Money. My name is Cynthiya DeFazio, and I'm joined today by Ryan Wheless and Matt Stevenson of Allied Wealth. Gentlemen, what an amazing video that we just watched. And Ryan, I have to ask you, if people are curious about how they can get information, if you will, about the Mighty Oaks Warrior Program, where can they go?
They can go to the MightyOaksWarriorProgram.org website. Again, MightyOaksWarriorPrograms.org and check it out. And please provide a donation. It's the only faith-based program out there to fight PTSD approved by the military. And the people in it and the people associated with it are just true people, and they're awesome.
Ryan, thank you so much. Matt, I want to talk to you a little bit about our other category of the retiree. Let's talk about the overfunded. What does that look like?
Yeah, Cynthia. So, these are people that have
Wait a minute, I'm rich. I got all this money. I don't have any problems.
Well, not true, sir. So
but people think that, and they're not. They have challenges.
They do, and so these are people that have done quite well in life. But to speak to those challenges, taxation is one of the main ones that we see, and there's a lot of kicking the can down the road in this regard. When we think about filing our taxes every year, it's the CPA's job to allow us to pay the lowest amount of taxes right now for a bigger tax distribution later on.
True,
right? And
true.
so that often doesn't put us in the best position to succeed.
Well,
when
the CPA, all they do, and I'm not knocking CPAs, you need a CPA, but they don't do any forward tax planning.
Yes.
They record a moment in time. And, if you're not meeting with your CPA and you're somebody that's an overfunded investor, you need to be meeting with an advisor, a tax advisor, and a CPA before April 15th, like before December 31st. I mean, you need to start in Q4 in the previous tax year. You need to start planning for taxation, because if you don't, you miss so many opportunities to mitigate long-term tax liability. And I got news for you. With $30 trillion in climbing in debt, Uncle Sam is coming for you. There are all kind of legislations out there. They're talking about taxing billionaires right now. I mean, that to me is insane. This is the greatest country in America, in the world.
Right.
And I went out and created a fortune of made $1 billion, and you're going to take my money away from me because I took advantage of the opportunities here in America?
Right.
Well, are you kidding me? What are we talking about here?
Yeah.
And Ryan,
Yeah.
we've seen this before, right? Believe it or not, these are some of the lowest tax rates we've ever seen in our nation's history. The top bracket right now is 37%. If you go back to World War II era in the 40s, then the highest marginal tax bracket was north of 90%.
Wow.
And so because of all of the things
Hey, but to that end, how much debt did we have back then?
not much.
Not much.
Right.
Nowhere near $30 trillion.
And so the landscape has changed dramatically.
Yeah.
And so to fund all the things that the government must provide to us, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and to pay the interest on that national debt, which is $30 trillion and climbing, we strongly believe that tax rates must go up in the future to fund those things, and now is the time to prepare for that.
So
Absolutely.
what? Give me an idea. A wealthy person walks in the office. What are some things you tell them to do?
Yeah, so one of the first things we're going to identify are what we call the buckets of money. So most folks that come to see us have their nest egg position in pre-tax accounts for the reasons we just talked about. That's what we're taught, is to defer those taxes till later on, and we'll worry about Uncle Sam when the time comes. Well, he's our partner in our retirement plan, essentially creating a lien on our nest egg in retirement. And you know, it's very much the difference between a known quantity and an unknown variable. We know where tax rates are now. We do not know where they could go in the future. And so things like Roth conversions, yes, paying the tax now, but getting those dollars out of pre-tax buckets and into tax-free income streams later on. Even something like tax-free income from life insurance programs can be extremely useful.
Section 7702. We've got a whole show coming up on Section 7702, and it's one of those things where how does a wealthy person get tax-free income? There really is a bucket out there, and it's an inducted universal life insurance policy, and they are phenomenal to have tax-free buckets of income. And we have a whole show coming up on that, so I don't want to steal that for the viewers. But you know, another thing to think about too is delay your Social Security benefits. So if you're 60 or retiring, do not take Social Security income until you're 70, because you're going to add that Social Security income on top of any Roth conversion strategies that you're trying to do, and try to get as much money out of those IRA accounts, out of those 401k accounts, out of those qualified plans that you have, deferred compensation plans, defined benefit plans, whatever they are. Try to get as much money out of those buckets into Roth IRA money during this age 60 period to age 70 period, that 10-year period, and then take Social Security income. So delay Social Security income if you're that person, for sure.
Okay, all right, excellent ideas. Ryan, I know that you and Matt have a very special offer to present to the viewers at home. With only a minute left of the show this week, let's talk about what that is before we say goodbye.
I'm going to speak to the folks at home in terms of an overfunded investor. I know your biggest threat is taxation, and it's mind-boggling to me the number of people out there that I see that take advantage of our offer, the financial flight plan, that do not have a tax advisor or a CPA or a financial advisor all working together. And you deserve that. You need that, because if you don't have all those components working together, I promise you, you're leaving money on the table. So would it be worth a phone call to our office to find out if that's you? Would it be worth a phone call to our office to find out if you can save money on taxes? If so, call us. The number is 844-944-7555. Again, 844-944-7555. Click the QR code on the screen. That'll take you to our landing page. And lastly, check us out at onthemoneytv.com.
Ryan, thank you so much. Matt, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, thank you for spending time with us today. That number is 844-944-7555. Be safe, be happy, be blessed, and we'll see you back 1 week from today.